Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone for coming, for being here to give your feedback to the PennDOT I-376 Realignment project. I want to go over how this meeting will work and talk about the purpose of this meeting before we begin, so we're all on the same page. We all know that this meeting is to discuss the concerns regarding PennDOT's preliminary redesign of the I-376 redesign project as it was presented at their March 12th, 2025 presentation. As the collective council and planning commission, we are seeking to understand the individual and collective what and why of concerns regarding this preliminary realignment. So our agenda tonight will start with Ms. Switch, president of our planning commission, who will be presenting the concerns of the planning commission. At that point, if there's any additional information that the planning commission wants to relay to us, other members of the planning commission can do so. Then we will move on to the resident comments. We will ask you to come to the microphone and say your name and address, and we invite you to share your concerns. We are asking that everyone keep their comments to 3 to 5 minutes so that we can ensure that everyone here who wishes to speak tonight will have that opportunity. Standing minute meeting operations are in effect, and as residents, after the residents' comments, I will then ask for the council's input and their concerns in alphabetical order by our last names, with Ms. House presenting last because she is the head of the infrastructure committee. At that point, when council is done giving their insight, I will ask Ms. House to go through the summarized areas of concerns, point by point, which she is prepared to do. She will be prepared to do. I will then ask for council's consensus line by line, person by person, and the agreed upon points of concerns will be communicated in a letter via letter to PennDOT per their request. I really thank everyone before we begin for being here and understanding the order of this meeting and understanding everyone's time and opinions are valuable. So I will hand it off to our amazing planning commission.
Well, I'm Jessica Swish, and I head up the planning commission. And so we together talked about what our top priorities were, what our top concerns were. And I think we came up with 3 that are valuable. I think we have a lot of input on how we think that this gets done, but we know that this is not the time of the plan. It's not. So in no particular order, our first concern is the eastbound exit ramp onto Poplar Street. There's a concern that the new ramp may increase cut-through traffic on Poplar and Manila, creating unsafe conditions in residential areas. A strategy to discourage this behavior should be developed. The second concern that we have is the Greentree Road Bridge pedestrian safety. The lack of protective barriers on the new bridge pose a serious risk to pedestrians. The addition of barricades or fencing, along with widening the sidewalk, which PennDOT has already proposed, should be prioritized for safety. And our third concern is removal of the westbound entrance ramp to 376 from Greentree Road. While the removal aligns with PennDOT's goal of reducing congestion and accidents from the loop design, elimination of this access point may negatively impact local traffic flow and could lead to increased congestion or detours through nearby neighborhoods.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the planning commission who wants to add anything before we move to residents?
Yes. Jeff Natale. The other thing that we've spent a lot of time talking about is also the sound barriers. So that we wanted to make sure that there are sound barriers as part of this project and that hopefully we can eliminate some of the noise and congestion along the parkway with this project as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay, we are ready to move on to the resident comments. If you can come just up to the podium and state your name and address.
Justin Derko, 38 Roads. I'm just here to further express my concern about the poplar ramp. Seems pretty extensively, what the plans were for this. I just think it's very likely that anything that will a solution that will prevent traffic from going right off that proposed off ramp or elimination of the, it's likely to end up with people shortcutting through the neighborhood there. Especially I know I can speak for myself. I think we're not here today. I mean, there'll be a lot of traffic coming through there. It's, pretty obvious. It seems that if there's a way for people to get off of Green Hill faster, whether it's perceived or actual, they're gonna take it. It looks pretty. Just, wanted to reinforce that, at least a few of us that live over there by that corner are pretty concerned about extra traffic through there. We get a lot of people on that stop sign and stuff as it is. And being as we're kind of like the gateway area to all that whole neighborhood there, I think having more traffic coming through that intersection is, it's not ideal for anybody. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Aldo R. Kaladi, 143 Sheldon Avenue, Pittsburgh, 15220. Before I get started, I wanted to cover a little bit of housekeeping sort of stuff. First of all, I've mentioned to a few people before the meeting got started that this meeting is listed in the Borough newsletter. It's starting at 7:30 and not 7. I don't know exactly how that happened, but you may have people coming in.
We will make sure that the people do come late, but I'll make sure they get their chance to speak.
Okay, thank you. That's one of my points. That if people come in at 7:30, they should still be allowed to speak.
Yeah, they
People
will.
who are beyond that portion in the meeting. So I wanted, because I know we may be here at 7:30, I anticipate we might, but they should be, if we're past that section of the meeting. Also, I'd like to know, if all the members of the planning commission are here.
No, we're missing Inquirer.
One.
Yeah.
So you're missing one person, and that is Mr. Werwer.
Wyrick, yeah.
Wire, thank you. Okay, because I'm not familiar with all the people on the planning commission. I can tell who's here on council and who isn't, but I wasn't able to identify who might or might not be here for planning commission. Since they're sitting back here, generally with the rest of us, it was sort of hard to figure that out. Okay, so that sort of takes care of the housekeeping things I wanted to mention. So now it appears to me that PennDOT is attempting to solve their parkway problem by substantially increasing traffic on the local roads of Greentree. Near our parks, 2 churches, 2 elementary schools, borough facilities like the administrative office, the fire station, the police department, and the recreation areas like Wilson Park. And also our swimming pool. And the reason why I say this is that there's the proposed Poplar Street ramp. And that ramp would turn basically the Poplar Street on ramp toward downtown Pittsburgh into an exit ramp. And as the gentleman this gentleman here spoke earlier, I agree with them. I know these were concerns that I've raised at prior meetings and also that other residents have. I'm concerned about truck traffic coming off that exit and wanting to make turns. I believe there might be a weight limit already on Poplar Street somewhere near the fire station. So I don't know if the road has a weight limit or not, but that would have to be something that would need to be considered. I don't think Poplar Street can handle the same kind of traffic weight-wise that Greentree Road or Mansfield can handle. So there's that issue. It would increase traffic at the Rhodes and Poplar Street area that this gentleman was highlighting. And that would make that intersection there more hazardous than it is already. It's already a problem. Living on Sheldon, you have to come to that intersection to leave our community. to leave Large Street of Sheldon and Park, there's no other way out. You have to come to that, what we call the four corners. And people, go through those stop signs. And you see out of towners who don't know how to handle, that four-way stop sign, and you'll see license plates from out of town. And people are coming from Breachy Road and going down that way toward the hotels, you know, with, GPS and all that kind of stuff. People find out other routes. And I think it would allow people to get off on Poplar Street, coming from the airport, and avoid the exit at Breachy Road near the Olive Garden, and the office building there, and the Kinko's Coffee Shop, avoiding that exit, and it'll, cause there to be less traffic in our Green Tree, business district. And also, people could use that, ramp to go toward Foster Plaza, which is what the PennDOT think most people would do. The occupancy at Foster Plaza isn't what it used to be, first of all. And secondly, I think more people would want to turn right, including people like me who live in that direction. But I don't want to get to my house faster, and easier, because I think people would use that as another way to get to the Parkway. You can go on to Breachy Road. I know that people here know you can go on Breachy Road and then down Carnahan to Crane Avenue and go, in that direction. I think that would increase people wanting, being able to do that. And I don't think PennDOT is fully aware of that, kind of a situation. And also, it would also cause people to be able to get off there and head toward the west end, either up to Mansfield and then down to Breachy Road, or going down Poplar Street toward McDonald's and getting onto Nobleston Road. So I think, it would, it's PennDOT's way of getting, as I said, traffic off the Parkway and into Green Tree to solve their problem. Secondly, this is something that I just discovered. I don't tend to be the most spatial person in the world, but I just discovered that apparently they want to take the on-ramp that is on Greenview Road that would head toward the airport. They want to remove that, which I realized, but they want to turn that into an exit from the Parkway. If I look at the map correctly, as an exit from the Parkway heading from downtown, you'd be getting off there instead of getting off at the intersection of Mansfield Avenue and the Parkway now, which is near the Jacobs Building, or taking the Cloverleaf around to get on Greenwich Road. If I understand correctly, the exit would be basically at the corner of Mansfield and Greenwich Road, where in the vicinity of Greentree Park and St. Margaret's Church. And that's not too far from Aiken School either. And that would make that intersection, which is now a T intersection, into like a four-way intersection, I believe, with a traffic light. And I didn't even realize this until recently, and I'm disappointed that I didn't realize that. And that would increase traffic on Mansfield and create a major intersection there, which is already a major intersection, but even more of a major intersection at the Greentree Road and Mansfield Avenue ramp. And that would be another case where they're allowing people to get off the Parkway sooner and increasing traffic in Greentree again. So those are my comments. And as I said, there may be some folks coming in late. Thank you. And I would have called this, I want to be clear, I would have called this to the borough's attention had I realized it while the issue of the meeting time. I would have called it to the borough's attention earlier, but I didn't realize it until after 4 o'clock this afternoon when the borough offices were closed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Dave Pastorkovich, 1001 North 6th Drive. My concerns too are with, coming into the city, exiting. We have the fire department, we have the pool in the summertime. We have a borough building here, we have the library. That's just a huge mess. I don't understand why they don't take the berm off of the Parkway, widen that, exit up on Green Tree Road as is. We have enough people here in the neighborhood who are concerned about speeding. We have young children, young families living in those areas. We're seeing an increase of young people moving into our neighborhood, which I want to see, because if you don't have a young community, your community's dead. And I'm seriously concerned about that traffic flow. The other thing with eliminating the exit, exiting onto the Parkway heading towards the airport. we're losing those nice green circles we had. A few of us talked about this before, we really don't have like just some type of display that welcomes you to Green Tree. You know, we've got that nice clock there, we have a little sign over by, where Chipotle is. But if they're going to eliminate that, is PennDOT going to put something, let's say they have to take something away, will they have to take away the clock? Or are they gonna replace all that? Do we know? I think that's something needs to be asked them also. And then the walking for pedestrians, I mean, that's part of the beauty about living here, is you can get around by foot so many different places. If we're not protecting our people in the community, that's something wrong, seriously wrong. And that exit coming off from town is, I think, is going to be one complete mess also. You know, we have our schools there, we have a church there. That needs to be rerouted in some way, some fashion. Just that whole Poplar exit, that's a nightmare. And I think every one of us ought to get to our neighbors and say, we don't want this. They come again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Christopher Kiski, 89 West Manila. I too agree or disagree with the Poplar exit. However, I know sometimes residents aren't always given what they're asking for. With that, if we're stuck with getting that ramp, can we do some kind of preventive signs saying no tractor trailers, no trucks, no?
So that would be part of the how, and we are just hearing why, and your concerns. Then that will be passed on to PennDOT. They will come, and have their finalized plan, which will be presented again to everyone. And at that point, when their plan is finalized, that's when the process would begin for our community, like our planning commission, zoning, everyone figuring out how that is going to impact us. So this is not the final meeting for any of this, and this work will continue to unfold as this process, as the work unfolds.
As I go along with the same concept of the alternating lane in the middle, I don't see how that's addressed in the diagram, so therefore my concerns are, it's not addressed. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of people walking with alternating lanes, if that continues to be the bridge.
Thank you.
Me and Sharon, I don't know if we'll talk to someone still or what.
Okay.
I live at 25 West Manila. There are some overall concerns with several elements of this, but my primary focus is the Poplar detour. I already sit between the two stop signs that nobody stops at. They use that little strip as their own personal quarter mile, especially during the night. Love hearing that at 2 in the morning. As it is right now, if there's something backed up, people use that way as an alternative to get to it from the parkway. So when something is going on, if there's heaven forbid a wreck or whatever, we get backed up, I can't get in or out of the driveway. If this gets proposed, we're already talking, my husband and I, about putting our house on the market. I can't be in a community where I can't get in and out of my own driveway safely. And to some of the other points that have been made, there are a lot of children. They're growing, they're starting to go up and down on their razors and their scooters. And with the concern of the cars that don't like to stop and already speed, this is just gonna elevate it even more. And I don't want to see a tragedy happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the folks who just came in, we are in the resident feedback session. You are welcome to come to the podium. You just need to state your name and your address. And we are hearing concerns about what and why you're concerned in the proposed plan from PennDOT.
My name's Alex Gowski, I'm on Susie Drive. First of all, I will confuse the notice that 7:30.
Notice in the printed says 7:30. We do not know where that, typo came from. The official notice said 7.
Okay. Well, I don't know what was said beforehand, but,
We want to hear your thoughts. Don't, yeah, even if you end up repeating something, they're your thoughts, so please tell them.
all right, well, for starters, if anybody's thought about the fact that, this project's, two other projects, we're gonna have 9 years of traffic torture here. Between the Maxwell project, this one you're going to be talking about down in Carnegie. And, since this is really a bad plan that they got here, that I'll get into, since it took them 70 years to come up with even trying to do something here, will be 70 more years to try to fix the misery, here. So this doesn't do anything to fix traffic. All this does is try to improve the Parkway Main Line. Taking all of the westbound entrance traffic, put it on Faulkner and Mansfield, which is already a half nightmare. With the traffic that uses that ramp, it's just gonna get worse and worse. In fact, there probably should already be a left turn light coming north end on Faulkner. Because as Mansfield clears out, and people have a free turn coming up the other way. You sit there and wait. They talk about the safety in here. And I wish they would talk about safety. When I go through the PowerPoint, sorry I couldn't make the March meeting, I was out of town. They have some interesting statistics in here, but they're totally out of context. So if somebody knows what they mean, I appreciate it. Like 499 crashes on I-376, 249 injuries, 240 clients statewide average. Well, I-376 is 84 miles long. So are they citing statistics over the whole length of the interstate or just around Green Tree area and interchange here? Because I sure don't know, and I don't know which of you ladies or gentlemen out there on the safety head here, but I bet if you ask the police department, they probably would tell you they haven't seen 500 crashes in 5 years here. I'm not quite sure why fixed object crashes are even part of this, because all that says is that somebody managed to be that far along the travel lane that you didn't know what they were doing. So there's stuff in here that doesn't make any sense. Between that, they talk about the improvement in travel. I don't know whether their analysis in here paid any attention to the fact that they do have a project that's going to take place on Maxwell, or it doesn't. Starts out with eastbound morning traffic is going to be the same cause of the tunnel. But Maxwell project is actually the only project I've seen done on trying anything in the past 20 years that was actually going to be approved of some kind. Yeah. So they don't even give any credit. Sure, there's going to be improvement of some kind. They don't give any credit for that. Then they tell you that 9-minute improvement is not 49% minutes in the afternoon. It's 12% 3 minutes and 26% westbound 10 minutes. It's a simple math operation to divide the time by a percentage here and discover that they think it takes over 40 minutes to get from the 45th tunnel to I-79. I don't know who thinks that's a reasonable value unless there's a real wreck sitting out there. So I don't know where this stuff is coming from. Some of this stuff reads like it's a brochure for a timeshare, but at least the timeshare fine print gives you the truth of what goes on here. The back again to the safety. You know, they talk about all the analysis they do. If these numbers even add some context to it, and what's their projection for how much better things might get if you do this. And, there's any number of problems just looking at this thing here. By the way, I've lived in Borough for 40 years. So I don't know how long you have to live here to have some idea of what the traffic problems are around here. I think I got a pretty good idea in 40 years. I look at their little cartoon here, and now as you come up eastbound on Green Tree Road, and they make that big intersection here. You got a string of what, 3 or 4 businesses before the Marathon Station. Where they got their land on. I mean, I got no interest in them, but how are they supposed to get out of the little cul-de-sac that they got going? And the other several concerns I have here are yeah, I said that pretty much benefits the mainland parkway. They're gonna do here what they did in the West End Circle. They'll make it nicer a little bit for Route 51, but they'll make a mess for the surrounding road. So our road net up here is as much as the Green Tree Road, not on just Faulkner and Mansfield, but we made a mess on Vanilla as well. And the only other ways around the traffic, as I'm sure everybody knows, is you either gotta go down Green Tree into the West End Circle, or you gotta go down the Carnahan Crate business, try to get down there. Have they looked at any of this stuff and how it's gonna get impacted? I just don't believe that they've given any real thought to this. That, I shouldn't say that, somebody gave thought to it because they paid some traffic engineer to look at this. And by the way, I hope when Borough replies to PennDOT, that you don't have to use their comment form, since it only allows you to put 1 sentence in. So I hope they give you some other way to deal with them. Even the stuff that makes some sense. Sound barrier, third lane they talk about down on the outbound side. They don't give you any lip service to some of the nice important aspects. I don't know along where the sound barrier is going to be, but there's very little. Everybody gets driven up and down. Certainly knows where both sides of that park. There's very little room where they're throwing that sound barrier. It's going to be right up next to the property line to those people there. And as far as a third lane going down the other side, which is an excellent idea, there's areas where they're going to have to put a filler to build that third lane up. And I know the borough has spent enough time walking around, with the bridge down there, drainage and stuff like that. That's going to wind up with some sort of a main retaining wall, which would be nice to have here. Then they have in one of the PowerPoint slides, they got a whole slide about environmental concerns. And they don't mention a single concern. Somehow taking a little sliver on Wilson Park raises an environmental concern. I can't believe that going down both sides of this parkway, there's not some little wetland there. Right into. Not that I have a great concern, but like I said, it's like an advertising still. I don't know if it was in the mayor's one. I don't know who wrote all these words or whether they were copied out some PennDOT stuff. But I did see something in here about them complaining that they couldn't run the third lane all the way down to Carnegie causing the railroad bridge down. Well, maybe they gotta go down and look at it because, yeah, the first main structure is right up against the parkway, but then there's plenty of room for a lane right next to that. For the first slim bend that's there, and then another lane you can stick in there. I grant you that's probably more for the clean up the Carnegie piece of the thing down there. And if they really want to spend some money, they could put 2 offset towers in there, pull that middle deck out. But my personal opinion is they don't want to deal with the railroad because it's a deal with the railroad. I do have some other criticism here. I think there are 3 words that are on PennDOT's vocabulary. One is escalation. He said this is $105 million job. Kind of like to know whether that's in 2024 dollars, 2029 dollars, or what are we talking about here? And is this money, really dedicated to this project? So what if, again, I don't know what it said before, so I might be the only person against this, but, and frankly, I am against it. I'd rather say what it is than do what's going on here. So if somehow this were successfully redeployed, did something different here, does the money, we get the, us keep it, but they get to keep that around so that, the money is used on a better project. The other two words PennDOT doesn't seem to notice is on grade separation. Everything they've done here is basically trying to keep, the roads and changes at the same elevation. I work in the borough as well. I've got the family building right out over the parkway. And I scratch my head and I wonder, instead of this 3-lane monstrosity ramp that they want to build down up the Green Tree Road. By the way, anybody that's been up Cranberry will know exactly what that's going to look like. And up at Cranberry 228, at least they had a decency to dump that out on a 6-lane road. I don't see any reason why they couldn't build a ramp, start further down, get the elevation grade they need, cross over that first loop, and take that right up the Green Tree Road. They could even align it over to Mansfield if they wanted, and use the same set of lanes. I think that one. Do something similar. Entrance on the other side, if they want to take it out. That might be a little trickier, cost more money. I think the problem is they're trying to not spend money, but they're going to leave us with a mess here. There's some other things, I'll say in the background to engineering and construction. I gotta wonder what condition Green Tree Road Bridge is in to little overpass bridges for bombs we want. I'm kind of curious to how much of this $105 million is going to replace those structures. How much life did we have until somebody thinks they really need that have a replacement? Because it seems like, yeah, I wasn't here in March, but I lived here a long time. I don't remember anybody having a series of meetings on. Let's talk about how to fix the interchange up here, Green Tree. So it just seems to me that we've been presented this as sort of a take it or leave it. Like I said, personally, I believe that it's going to be a mess. They've given no thought to, at least they haven't mentioned anything here about how they can alleviate things by maybe taking a broad brushstroke here, somehow using the Barclay Center ramp, doing some enlargement of Green Tree Road. Realize it's perhaps a little more invasive. You couldn't squeeze a fourth main in up there. You probably have to take it away from the front of Aiken, something big. But heck, even a left turn lane going outbound, right, go definitely be better off the Algier. So again, I'm sorry to be taking this time, but to me, their PowerPoint's just a big advertising slip. It doesn't give you real information, leaves you more questions than anything else. And Green Tree Road can't handle the traffic environment. Do what they want to do. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't want to live anywhere near the still block with Friday out horsemen with that football. They could build any other part of the country. The people have no problem coming up with money. They have ramps going up and around. Maybe we wouldn't like that visually. With cars 15 or 20 feet off, popular, possibly in mind. Put some retaining walls in, get some more space there. Here, maybe it'll cost more money, but you might actually get something that might work to that. This. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
So, until I downloaded my name is Chris, planning commission, but also 690 West Manila. Until I downloaded the high definition picture of that, I never noticed it before. But along Park Edge, the easement for the parkway goes up to where the houses where it gets real close to the highway. Easement goes up to the actual houses themselves. So I think PennDOT should have a communication plan for any other construction there, because it looks like when they're gonna build the sound wall, that there are a few houses that are gonna lose their backyards. So I think that should just be part of the whole effort.
Jesse Robinson, Evans, 24 Leland Road, I'm also on the planning commission. Just to address the previous commenters. Comment about the bridge, they are realigning Green Street Road and building a new bridge next to the old bridge. As a part of maintaining traffic during their construction operation. I don't know about the one on Poplar, I believe that one's existing to remain, but the bridge going across Green Street is new. The Green Street Road is shit.
Again, Chris Rokiski, 89 West Villa. I haven't heard anybody discuss the fire station. If we had increased traffic right there next to the fire station, how that can affect the residents and safety concerns of the fire department.
Aldo Arcolati, 143 Sheldon Avenue, Pittsburgh, 15220. Sorry to go back to my housekeeping issue again, but I just wanted to point out that I think I counted 5 or 6 people who've come into the meeting since the end, since the 7:30 time. Some people came in, I believe they started coming in about 20 after 7. So I wanted to note that, and I believe several speakers that weren't here at the meeting at 7 also talked, so their input has been valuable. And also, I would like to point out that I suppose there may have been some people that have joined the meeting on Zoom since 7 o'clock. And so I wanted to note that, of course, we can't see that here, how many people might have joined the meeting on Zoom. And then also, if the borough was aware of this time discrepancy in the meeting, it should have been noted on the website that we've incorrectly published in the newsletter. The meeting starts at 7:30 rather than 7, or whatever the story was. I think that needs to be pointed out too. Thank you.
We were not aware, so I was not aware until this meeting. Do you have any other further comments? If you could come up so we can hear it, I'm sorry. I know, I'm really sorry. It just helps with the note taking. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Just had a question, if this was the only opportunity that the community is gonna be able to voice their concerns.
For this portion, this is the public meeting for that. The information regarding the project has been online for months, and people have been encouraged to also send their direct concerns to PennDOT. This is the only meeting we have for the preliminary. And then because they are asking us for a letter with those concerns, so that they can begin to draft the finalized direct project, right? When that is done, PennDOT will come back again and have a presentation that will be open for the public as well, and for people to give comments and talk about that one. And then at that point, once that finalized, when Jack's meeting is finalized, that's when we'll start to actually plan and build the, anticipated timeline for when this happens. And that finalize the anticipated timeline. And then that is when the work of the borough can begin in figuring out the how and the what of whatever they come up with, finalize it, how we will respond to that. And that really becomes, not only the infrastructure committee and the planning committee, the commission and our public safety, our, policemen, our fireworks, our fireworks. You can tell that I'm ready for the 4th of July. Our fire department, it really becomes that all encompassing. And at that point, when we do move into the more of like how it's going to impact your community, there will be additional meetings, for our committee, for our community to talk about our piece of this and how it impacts our community.
Does the borough have legislations against having an interstate coming through a residential area? I know
No,
that you can't do it on a federal level, but municipal, I thought that we could.
we cannot, they own those roads. Green Tree Road is a state road. They are all maintained by PennDOT.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Poplar and Mansfield or Green Tree Roads, or
Or,
maintained by Green Tree.
yes,
So they passed order to go in 1001 Norris Drive. So if they come back with their plan, and we as a community do not like their plan, what alternatives do we have? Are we able to take it to the county and have the county help us with this?
you would really have to wait and see that really gets into legalities and we are not the people to answer those questions. It would just really, you would have to see. They own those places, so.
I understand. I've already gone to the county and the county is very receptive to hearing the residents' input and having our backs.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
James Morehouse, 116 Park Edge, is one of the properties that will get land taken from them through the whole project. The sound barrier for me is one of the largest aspects. Unfortunately, I know everything affects a lot of other people. This affects directly goes on Park Edge. Just want to make sure I did direct to PennDOT directly and ask them if that ramp does not happen down in Poplar, if it doesn't affect the sound barrier at all. One person did tell me it shouldn't affect it except the distance from the parkway or from all the houses, depending on if that ramp goes down. But just if council's addressing that ramp, they could just address that as well as a concern, just to make sure that would still be put in place. Thank you.
I'm Penny Lucas, I live at 214 Park Edge, so I have more property, I actually have like a second lot that goes then into the woods. But I've never really understood eminent domain, the gentleman that lives much closer to the highway. How much property is PennDOT legally allowed to take from him to build whatever they're building? That's the question. I don't know if you can answer it or not.
I cannot answer that, but we can have someone look into that and get you connected with the information.
They did mention in the public meeting that they would, in fact, have to encroach on private property to build the wall.
They also would be taking some private property to expand it. So there were several areas that they were going to have to take some, not large amounts, but.
Yeah, they weren't specific when asked how much.
Yeah.
They weren't specific,
We do.
and they're also taking, part of Wilson Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's front corner.
So I would like to make sure that our residents have, if anyone else would like to come up and address their concerns, now would be the time to do so.
Lynn Brown, 1119 Glencoe Avenue. I just want to say, I think maybe council should be prepared to look into county support. Like, it's obvious here, there aren't anybody that's speaking on behalf of it. And the gentleman who's the engineer had a lot of questions that he has calculated out. And I don't even know if we have a consultant or anyone that can help us with that. So I think we need to get our work boots on and get to work and figure out, will we get help from the county or are we just gonna sit and accept whatever.
We do pay for legal counsel, and that is who would be doing that work for
I
us.
think tell them to get going.
Okay, if we have no one else, we will move to our,
So
council.
I wanted to speak as a citizen, not as a planning commissioner.
Yes,
Jesse Robinson Evans, 24 Leon Road. I said this in the March meeting when PennDOT was here. I submitted a comment online saying basically the same. Pretty much everybody in Green Tree, not everybody, I mean, there's some houses on the other side of the highway, but a lot of people going to Aiken or Green Tree Park are crossing that intersection that, again, not necessarily going from a T with a T with that on-ramp loop, but going to a full-on signalized four-way intersection. I just want to ask PennDOT for crosswalks, all red signals, whatever they can do to make that intersection pedestrian friendly. Because whenever you make things pedestrian friendly, then people walk more often. Again, I personally walk to that park all the time. The sidewalk is narrow, but it has the Jersey barrier. It being wider is nice, but again, everywhere along Green Tree, walking on that sidewalk, you feel like you're walking right next to 45-mile-an-hour traffic if you are. And again, whenever you have a kiddo in tow, holding your hand or whatever, it's scary, so. Yeah, just asking them for more pedestrian safety. I'll just leave it at that, thank you.
thank you. Okay, if the resident, comments are closed, we will move to council comments. We are gonna go in alphabetical order, include by last name. And so that means that we begin with Ms. Demi. Is there any additional comments or questions, or things that you would like to address here or echo what our community is saying?
No, I echo a lot of what's being said here, obviously, this part of the highway can be problematic, it's full of traffic, there's really short acceleration and on ramps, a lot of accidents in the circles. It's making sure that it's done in a way that does not negatively impact our community to, cut down on commute time by seconds or minutes, making sure that our community stays as accessible and a great place to be. Pedestrian safety is huge. Again, I walk with my kids up Green Tree Road all the way to the park, so making sure that that stays safe, and not negatively impacting the houses that may sit on these tougher roads, but I echo what everyone else is saying.
Thank you. Next we move to Mr. Ganza.
Yes, my two main concerns were the new exit ramp. When I mentioned to PennDOT, you're really putting it right next to the entrance to Green Tree Park. PennDOT, the representative said they weren't even aware that the entrance of Green Tree Park was right there. So, could you imagine, it's hard enough to get in and out of Green Tree Park. So with that new ramp, that will need addressed. Also, anytime after 2 o'clock, heading towards the west end. If one person's making a left on Warriors, it's holding up 50, 60 people. So they haven't addressed anything of, are they gonna have 2 lanes going that way again, 1 lane going that way? Very concerned about that. I mean, I do have to say though, the one positive thing, the sound barrier, pretty good idea, I think. Been working on it for many years. And 2, the on-ramp down by the swimming pool. You have to admit, that is pretty dangerous. And seeing that go, I think, eventually would be a good idea. But that's what my concerns are.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Ray.
Yeah, so, following the last public meeting that PennDOT attended, public meeting, I sent a letter to all the key stakeholders, including PennDOT, county reps, everybody that was invited to that meeting. I just had a reply all. And I was primarily asking for more data. I felt like there wasn't enough data behind the design, and we didn't have traffic counts. When I asked the question in the meeting, the traffic engineers said we don't have it. I was kind of surprised they didn't have it for that meeting, but they were able to go back and do a traffic, I guess, I don't know if they did a traffic study or where they got the data, maybe they had it, they just didn't bring it to the meeting. But I'll just read a synopsis of what they said. They said in the AM, so this is for Poplar Street. In the AM and peak hours, let me start over. In the AM and PM peak hours in the existing condition, there are 151 vehicles and 294 vehicles, respectively, traveling southbound on Poplar between the eastbound entrance ramp and Manila. So that's the traffic on Pop, right? Going southbound, that's towards Noblestown Road, between the eastbound entrance ramp, the current entrance ramp, and Manila. These traffic volumes are anticipated to increase to 172 and 333 vehicles in the future no-build condition. That means if nothing happens, just because of increased population in the peak hours, it's going to go from 172 and 333 from 151 and 294. The anticipated increase of vehicles in the AM is 273 and 477 in the PM in that same area in the future build. So if they do the improvements, they're anticipating that big of an increase in traffic. It's significant. And where does all that traffic go? It goes through the cut-through streets. It goes Poplar, West Manila, Lenco, Susan, or all those streets are gonna be slammed with traffic. PennDOT at the meeting said, no, that won't happen. They'll just use Green Tree Road. Well, we all know what will happen there. So that's one of my primary concerns. Yeah, maybe somebody had mentioned signage. Maybe they can make that Poplar ramp if they have to do it. Maybe they can make it so you can only go left. That could be an option. Some of my other concerns, I agree with everybody that came up and spoke today. I think we should, I know we're not talking about the how, but I think we should form a task force. And the gentleman from Susan, the engineer, I think he should be the chair of that task force. That was awesome. Some public safety issues that I have with the current proposed design is the emergency response. So if we remove the on-ramp inbound, how do the emergency vehicles get to accidents that happen prior to the on-ramp down past Oliver and the Bethany Building? They'd have to go all the way down to Carnegie and all the way back to respond to accidents at that interchange. They already have to do that for accidents that occur coming up the hill. But that would just further increase the amount of time for those emergency responses. The other thing that I asked for in terms of data are the actual, and the gentleman was asking, where are those accidents happening? When I asked for that, they weren't able to pinpoint. They were just getting that. They said they got that information from the state police and emergency responders. So not very specific, like, okay. So I spoke to the fire company. Most of their responses to vehicle accidents happen on the straightaways, not at the entrance ramps or the exit ramps. It happens going up and down the hill with people just crashing into each other, right? It doesn't happen, according to the fire company, doesn't happen as often at the actual interchange. So that's something that I think we need to study. The other thing that I mentioned in my initial letter, you know, if the tractor trailers, the big trucks, it was mentioned that there may be some weight limitations on Poplar. My concern is that if a truck gets hung up coming down West Manila, it tends to make a right onto Green Tree Road. There's not enough movement there to make that turn. It wouldn't happen. It'd be stuck. So they have to make a left on Green Tree Road, and I don't know what they would do from there if they're going southbound on Green Tree Road. So I did mention that I reached out to, when I sent that letter out to everybody, there's probably 50 or 60 email addresses on there. One of the county reps, their chief of staff reached out to me and wanted more information. They said that they would collectively send a letter to PennDOT, so we do have their support. If I sent that letter on my own, I think they thought that maybe that was coming from all of council, so I think as a next step, not only do we send that letter to PennDOT, but that we also send it to our elected officials at the county level and also the state level. And I think that's the end of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Shane.
Thank you. I think the number one concern that we have to relay to PennDOT, from listening to all the citizens, is that to eliminate that inbound or eastbound exit ramp under Poplar Street. When you've seen one person that spoke in favor of that, so that would cause a significant problem, and that's one of the recommendations of the planning commission to study this. Do they eliminate that eastbound exit ramp under Poplar Street? Another thought would be, I don't know if the status quo is an option, but as someone pointed out, it was in my notes here too, that bridge condition, we have to replace a bridge on Trumbull Drive, it's costing us over $5 million. That's the only bridge that Green Tree owns, so it's costing us $5 million. So the question becomes, what is that condition of the bridge that goes over the parkway? I mean, is it good for 5 years, 10 years, or is it gonna need replaced pretty soon? If it's gonna need replaced pretty soon, we need to go full steam ahead on some redesign, just to get that bridge replaced. But we need to ask that question, what kind of longevity does that bridge have? Another thing would be is pointing out the sound barriers. We need specific information. Council has to ask, the location, how much property are they gonna take? Are they gonna build it within their easement? How much eminent domain? So we need specifics as to the sound barrier, as people pointed out in the planning commission, at least the members did on that. Another couple of things here, the pedestrian safety on the bridge, that's critical. We really need, people walk on that all the time. And if there is a four-way intersection, obviously we're going to need, this was pointed out by another member of the planning commission, safety at that particular intersection. Another thought I had was, we used to have an in-house engineer. We no longer have an in-house engineer. So we do pay for engineering services on a per hour basis for an engineering firm. But maybe it would behoove us to have that engineering firm take a look at this as suggested, even though it might cost us several $1,000s to have an engineering firm look at this and make any comments. Maybe they'll provide us with some thoughts that we might not necessarily have with our limited expertise on highway design. And I think lastly, that summary that was in the newsletter, I'll take full credit for it. So from my notes, I put together that summary, but I did send it to PennDOT once I put together that summary in the newsletter and asked them if my notes and my summary was accurate, and they did say it was accurate. So it's not PennDOT's words, it's my words, but I did get it approved because I wanted to be sure to not misunderstand anything. So those were my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz.
So the Poplar ramp is a concern. It dumps onto a very busy stretch, especially in the summer months when we have summer rec. We have a pool. The grade schools walk to that pool along those roads. The intersection at Mansfield and Poplar is already treacherous. And this is only gonna make it bigger. So I think I am concerned that the Poplar ramp exists. I do think it is a nicety for residents. But I think that the use will be mainly from people that are not in Green Tree that are trying to get off Highway Borough. But if we cannot make that change, then I think the next step would be to focus on making sure that pedestrian safety is paramount. If that does stay, that we need to make sure that there are sidewalks on all of those roads, that they are wide enough, that we have the right kind of traffic lights. I would like to see the Poplar ramp go away. Ron, I am the person turning left on the Warriors, so I apologize.
Me too.
So, and that is a treacherous intersection, but that section is not being addressed. Parkway Center, that section, they're not tackling that end. They're focused mainly on that center corridor where the bridge is. My understanding when I looked through it was that this 3-lane system was going to remain on Green Tree Road, that was not changing. That the lanes being widened was mostly on Poplar and Mansfield. That's where we were gonna see the road widening. So that 3-lane system would stay intact. So yes, I think the sound barrier is a must. I know the residents on Park Edge and Sheldon have been waiting for it for a very long time. And if you're ever there, even on a Sunday afternoon, walking around, you can be up on Sheldon, you can hear that Parkway. When you're up on Sheldon, you can hear the traffic. It is loud. But I definitely think we need to ask what amount of eminent domain we're looking at for these residents who may lose backyards. As far as the rest of the design, I'm not sure that the ramps, I've seen many accidents happen, yes, not on the ramps, but right after the ramps. It's usually somebody coming on and it is on the straightaway, but it's from coming off of that ramp and merging onto the highway because there's not a lot of room. So I do see many, many accidents when I'm driving back and forth in that area. So I can't not say that the ramps are not problematic, and having someone coming on and off in the same place is not ideal. So I understand the purpose of what they're trying to do. And unfortunately, we are not the only people who use the parkway. So there is some level that we don't have this, but I think that we need to get as much input into PennDOT to craft it so that it helps our residents and use that power to get all of the amenities that we need for pedestrian safety, sidewalks, traffic control. Whether if Poplar ramp stays, you cannot turn right. You can only turn left. Can there be a truck restriction? No trucks on that way. Period.
Ms. Schwartz, can I ask you to stick to your concerns, not the house? Thank you.
Correct. Sorry, get into the house. But yes, I think Poplar ramp is a big concern. Pedestrian safety is paramount. And we really do need to look at the congestion because that is a 4-way intersection that has been split out in the past and now it's all going to be consolidated into one spot. So that little block is going to be treacherous.
Thank you. I'll go next and then we'll finish with Ms. House. So I echo mostly everything that was said here tonight. For me, it comes down into 2 main points, buckets of concern. The one being the safety of our community, whether it's increased traffic, and increased accidents on our local roads. I want a safe neighborhood where people can walk, people can go to our parks. I'm concerned about coming in and out of schools and churches. All of those things that make a community. I am concerned about how this will impact the work of the community. I'm also concerned about the long-term impact of our local roads. Road maintenance of our roads is on us. So the more traffic that comes onto our roads, whether weight limits or not, more traffic on our roads means more wear and tear on our streets that we will be responsible for. We just came out of an incredibly bad winter. We have a long list of roads that need to be taken care of. And I am concerned that we will get into this rotation where these roads that are now going to be impacted, Poplar, West Manila roads, that they will be heavily impacted. And the state of those roads will just be in continual disrepair, and it will be on us as a borough to maintain that. And I cannot stress the safety, whether it is through our response times for our volunteer firefighters, whether it's through just literally being able to walk into the communities, access to parks, being able to come in and out of businesses safely, churches safely. All of that to me is my largest concern. The exit onto Poplar, removing that would certainly be helpful. But at the end of the day, no matter what it comes, it is the safety of our residents and our the people who are in our community that matter the most to me.
Just out of curiosity, do we have people on Zoom? Is there anybody on today?
We have 4 people on.
And they haven't asked to speak.
No, they cannot.
Oh, they cannot, okay. Okay, so, my concerns are largely the same as everyone else that has, spoken today. I do live on Sheldon Avenue and I'm very much against the Poplar off-ramp. I'm concerned with how much traffic it would put on local communities. I'm concerned with the safety of people and children going to the parks and the pool. So Poplar Street off-ramp, we are very much against in my household. Sound barrier, I would say would need to happen because even though I am on Sheldon, I do hear quite a bit of parkway traffic. And that is a big concern. And how they want to redo the bridge, they had said they were making the sidewalks wider, and PennDOT said they didn't feel the need for a barrier, and I disagree wholeheartedly with that. I 100% think a barrier needs to be there. Obviously, we need the fencing, even with the wider sidewalks. I walk to the farmer's market from time to time. So, and I see a lot of families out, if you have a stroller, if you have pets, little kids. So safety of our community definitely needs to be addressed. So I certainly agree with everyone else that has spoken and have this also.
Okay, so the next part of this is now that everyone has been able to give their thoughts. We will go through the bulleted lists, that Ms. House has made that summarizes all of our points. And we will go through, similarly how we've done in the past, where we will just have, voting members, I'll call everyone's names, we'll go through that list and we will just say, yes, we would like to see that addressed in the letter, no, we would not. And we will proceed in that fashion. Ms. House, are you ready to do that, or do you need a minute or two?
Yes, so I guess my question is do you want me to basically lump I mean, these are all very, very similar, so.
We can do it however you would like, however best beneficial to go through them. It is fine if we, have to repeat similar things. That part of grouping can happen when the letter runs, but I want to make sure you're prepared to do this.
Sure, yeah, and I think we should start with the planning commission, what they said, because they summarize things very, very neatly, and every single one of their suggestions was brought up by almost every single other person. So.
Yeah, we can start.
So number one, eastbound exit onto Poplar. Nobody wants that, due to through traffic on local roads and safety.
Okay, so we're talking about, we're showing concern.
We
for
are
the
showing
east-
concern and do not even want it as part
Yes.
of the project.
Okay, as per the planning commission's recommendations. So let's have everyone go through, so it gets messy if we, or do we want to do, are we okay, just doing, yes?
If you're against, just.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. If it gets messy, then we can go person to person, but I don't think it's gonna get that way. Okay, so if we are this is where the language gets. If you are in favor of including the language of the recommendation of the planning commission for the eliminating the eastbound parkway, ramp, say aye.
I would just.
I have a question.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But is it the planning commission's recommendation to completely eliminate it or to study it to see if there is an alternative? Completely eliminate.
We suggested elimination.
Yeah.
If there's not elimination, then it was a lot of the caveats that
Yeah.
Emily was saying as far as no right turn and all of that stuff, but our recommendation was elimination.
And that is my question. What if they put the ramp and they say it's only gonna be left turn only? I'm just saying,
We'll have to come to that
That's
discussion,
next.
yeah, but it's not this.
as is.
All of those things are valid, and this is what.
So I mean, so would we prefer the Poplar ramp left turn only?
Well, our recommendation.
No, it's not at all.
What we are deciding right now is if we want to include the recommendation of the planning commission to eliminate it. That is the high concern. If you are in favor of that, say aye. Aye. If you are not in favor of that, say no. Any abstain? Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a success. Thank you, planning commission.
Okay, point number 2 is the Green Tree Road Bridge. Pedestrian safety is a concern, barricades, fencing, wider sidewalk, signals if needed. Needs to be put in place. PennDOT said in March, they didn't feel barricade was necessary. We feel, planning commission feels barricades are necessary, so how do we want to support that?
Are we in favor of asking per the planning commission's recommendation to add barriers, to include barriers in the bridge? Yeah. Or whatever they have their formalized language. So. What's that? Oh, so say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any no's? Any abstain? Great, thank you, planning commission.
Okay, the last thing the planning commission mentioned was removal of the westbound ramp from Green Tree Road to the zones.
Would we want, we're just gonna summarize it like that.
Do not eliminate, do not eliminate the.
Yeah.
Was the
Do not eliminate.
recommendation.
Thank you.
Do not eliminate the Green Tree Road ramp to the airport.
Yeah, I don't have that one in front of me, so unless I would pull it up on my computer, so it's hard. Okay, so the third one says the, it says removal of the westbound entrance ramp to the parkway from Green Tree Road. The elimination of this access point may negatively impact local traffic flow and could lead to increased congestion or detours through nearby neighborhoods. So it's asking to keep it, right, so that we don't have to, so do not eliminate it. If you would like to see, do not eliminate it in the requests, you say yes.
No, that, I think, unless I'm speaking out of turn here in planning commission, correct me. We were concerned about that, but it wasn't that we were saying that should just be eliminated.
So we want to say out of concern.
Yes,
Yeah.
if there were safety concerns or traffic concerns as a result of it, but it wasn't that we were stating.
I don't
that
think
that
we
should
felt
be
hard and
eliminated.
fast about that.
Yeah,
Like-
concern is unfair.
What we may want to do is say that we would like them to remain open to concerns that may result from that plan.
Remain open to concerns about eliminating.
To redesigning.
To redesigning it, yeah.
Can I speak on this?
Yeah,
matter
of course,
real
yeah,
quick?
if you can come up to the top, that's helpful.
Again, Jesse Robinson Evans, 24 Leon Road. Again, my understanding of PennDOT's redesign here is that that loop is the source of the accidents and congestion. Because you're going from a full stop to highway speeds with people trying to exit and you trying to enter. The main concern that I think planning commission came up with was if you eliminate that loop, then people have to go to Poplar to get westbound. You can currently do that by turning left at Mansfield, left onto Poplar and on the ramp. I already do that daily because I don't like that loop. Their changes increase the size of the intersection, increase the number of lanes, increase the number of lanes on the ramp. The concern though is if you eliminate that loop, we don't want people to be going on to Manila onto Poplar to get to the ramp.
So let
Is
me,
that generally what, that was the consensus that I think
Much closer.
yes, so if we take,
if we ask them to not remove that loop, then they're just not doing anything.
yeah,
We're just keeping the status quo.
well, they follow the same, forget you.
Yeah, you could get to that point. I mean, if you're gonna include language to say, don't do anything to anything. Well, that's a separate bullet point.
About concerns with the elimination, adding excess traffic to Manila.
Yeah, so my interpretation of how we could do this is a lot of the concerns that we have and a lot of what our residents have are the impacts of those things if that is not addressed, right? all of the increased traffic to our roads, all of that falls into that, right? So if we take your recommendation and then say, you know, because you have it here in great language, the elimination of this access point may negatively impact local traffic flow and could lead to increased congestion or detours through nearby neighborhoods. That is the summary, and then all of the stuff that we've been discussing tonight and we'll continue to go through, that comes into those bullet points underneath it, like a lot of it, like here are the things we're concerned about because of that. So,
Yeah, and I would just say if you're gonna put a bullet point in the letter that says, don't remove that loop, then you might as well ask to just not do the project.
yes,
Which, if,
we're not
that's your
voting
point.
on that, we're voting,
Okay.
we're gonna follow your recommendation. And I like that language, and then if you go through some of the things that we've heard tonight, that might fall under that when that letter is drafted. Okay. All right, so. It is a concern that the elimination of this access point may negatively impact local traffic flow and could lead to increased congestion or detours through nearby neighborhoods. Are we in agreement that we want that concern addressed in the letter? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you. Judy, I'll give you your note on that.
Okay, so the next major thing that came up was the sound barrier. There are a few things around that. Obviously, many people think the sound barrier should definitely be there. Then there is concern over eminent domain, easements, how much private property is actually going to be affected or taken. What does that? So yes, we absolutely want a sound barrier, but then concern as to what does that mean in practice?
So could we say something, I'm gonna float this out, and obviously we can all workshop this, but we support a traffic or a sound barrier and have concerns and still unanswered questions regarding how this will impact property owners, where it will go, you know, where are we actually putting it, and then there was something else, I think, that.
Easement.
Eminent
domain.
I have a concern with where does the sound go after it bounces off the wall? It's a legit concern because it has to go somewhere. Years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when PennDOT came to us, one of the traffic engineers said sometimes it bounces off the wall and goes over the wall. Does that mean that Sheldon gets noisier? So
So it's not sound absorbing, right?
it's generally made out of concrete panels.
okay, so it bounces and it goes somewhere. So that's a major concern that I have about sound.
We're
We're
getting-
gonna answer
we're getting
about
into
that.
that.
What kind of material would be
Well,
used?
I wanna know where the sound, I wanna know when
What
that's,
sounds that?
where does the sound go? What decibel level do we need to reach in order to get a sound wall? What reductions in decibel levels do we see with a sound wall, and where does that sound go?
How high is the wall?
Yeah.
The question.
How it's the wall?
Yeah,
Living on Park Ed, I mean, I'm up, I truly don't know if that wall's, like you said, is the sound just gonna go right over the wall, not spilled in here?
Are they gonna put it on
So
both sides of the
I
park?
often wonder that, how high will that?
just one side.
That's because they haven't done an aspen wall, and it's on both sides of the highway, which makes a huge difference, because if it hits one side, it's going to hit the other side. Just putting on one side, Dave's question is very legitimate, where you're gonna go.
Yeah, it is a legitimate question, and it leads me to leave, like, I would like to know how high will it be? How long is it going to be? And truly, I do wanna know, about what it is going to be made up of, which will help explain things either way.
Just from a planning commission, where we were at with this issue, and I agree with everything that you said, and Dave wanting to know where the sound goes and all of that. Our thought, though, was that sound barriers were something that if Green Tree didn't get it, we don't want this project. Now, again, that's easy to say that to PennDOT, but we felt strongly about is this one more time where we're increasing traffic and bringing things through Green without holding them to task for sound barriers? So I think all of the questions are still legit.
Yeah.
But we don't want just this redesign and all of the increased traffic and no sound barriers or protections for the neighbors that live along that.
Madam President, I myself, I would, as Chair of Community Affairs, I would not mind taking a small group of people to ask them all and asking some residents, what do you think of these sound barriers? And see firsthand what it's like with the sound barrier compared to what it was like without.
I don't think that's a terrible idea, Mr. Kanta. I want us to know, have an idea of what we're actually going to be getting before that. And then we would go through our proper channels of talking to, the borough manager, arranging that time,
Yeah.
But I think the larger question, like that is, sure, I would love to hear from different communities and how they, or I was gonna say enjoy, but who really enjoys something like that? No one probably. But I think that there's questions about even what we'll get, like what's that gonna look like before we would have that.
No, wait a second.
Yeah, that's like the
Yeah.
second part of it, like the next part, yeah.
But to actually get real data from people that are affected by the sound.
So I think on this, though, we want to say that we're concerned about the extent to which the sound barrier would control the sound, absorb the sound. Where does the sound go? We would like more information about the height, the length, the materials.
We have a comment in the.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is good and correct. What you really should add to this commentary is PennDOT. At what point in the process is PennDOT going to engage a professional firm to do a full sound study that's gonna produce all this information? Because this lady over there just said, I've heard from many people. I don't know, you don't.
Yeah.
That's what this whole project suffers from, is a tremendous amount of, I know that.
Yeah, we need
I do believe that they did engage.
sound study.
They did do some already, which is.
Their
why they-
process.
Then pony it up and let people look.
Right. So our outcome tonight is, draft the letter
Yeah.
to PennDOT. I would recommend that before we send it to PennDOT, that we rely on our own internal traffic engineer or somebody that can review what we discussed. Maybe a community task force with expert engineers and people in construction that might want to, provide input, further input. I'm not an engineer, but I would call you that. I would think that would, be helpful. So that we're not missing anything.
Jen, I don't have a microphone to give to you. You walk, are you able to come up? I saw you.
Janice Adamski, 1134 Greenlawn Drive. Several years ago, there was a Park Edge Shelton Sound Barrier Wall Committee. And I believe all the information that you are asking about tonight was given to us at that time, but I'm sure it's changed. I was just wondering if it's possible to resurrect that committee and include the people that were on it previously if they want to continue, but obviously a lot of the people in the audience tonight and get these questions answered.
I'm certain that we could,
Hey,
that you ran that one.
Yeah, Ms. Dansky, we really haven't eliminated that committee,
Right.
but we are just working on the same timeline as PennDOT.
Yeah, and
So our meetings are, everything takes a long time.
I think that would be a really great, like, once this is addressed and we say, you've sent the letter, we send it to our engineers, all of those things have happened. Then especially when PennDOT then comes back with their final project, those are the times that we can then say, yes, because it's on us now, it's on the community to figure out those things.
Right. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
The one thing PennDOT did tell me was the sound barrier was gonna be very similar to the new one they put on Route 28 in Aspinwall, which they said much closer to the road than the sound barriers you've seen on the turnpike that sit like, 500 feet off the turnpike. This is gonna be more right up along the berm of the parkway, and also with the new designs on Route 28, those grooves in that will take the sound and like absorb it more, so they claim.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
Can we have a summarized thing so that we can say we want to include, concern about the sound barrier?
Can I add something about the sound barrier?
Yes.
The last meeting we had was in 2017,
Definitely been a while.
because I was on that committee, so that's the last meeting we had.
When the head of PennDOT came and said, if you get everyone to vote for Senate Bill number 1, we'll get you a sound barrier in the next year.
So we are unfortunately not in 2017.
Yes.
We are in 2025, and I would like us to be able to say, yes, we want concerns about the sound barrier addressed.
Yeah.
Of course, we want, are happy to have a sound barrier, but we need to know some answers to these questions, including a sound study, an updated sound study. We would like to see that addressed. Are we in favor of that? Say yes.
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 Yes. Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you. Okay. Ms. Hatz.
So there's a lot of general safety concerns, obviously. Let's go to the bridges. So the bridges came up, Green Tree Road, and the other bridges in the borough came up on condition. How long are they gonna last? What's the responsibility, the borough gonna be if PennDOT comes in? Because now that has increased traffic on all the bridges. So that is the bridge owned by PennDOT though? So that would be their maintenance.
Okay.
That's their bridge. The only bridge we own is
The Trumbull.
Right, which is, so any maintenance on that is theirs.
On there.
They're behind on ours. I mean, it's ours.
It will,
It's all ours.
we have to handle any work that's happening. We will be impacted, but
Okay. Emergency response time and access is a concern that came up quite a few times. So if, there's a lot of this, right? If they do not remove that poplar off ramp, that increases traffic greatly right in front of the firehouse.
so when we're thinking about how that structure, right, it is, we have the concern already about the, from the planning commission, and then under that is safety concerns. We have safety concerns regarding our first responders. Is that correct?
I think that's more than just poplar.
I think in
In
general,
general,
we're talking
in
about
general
safety
concerns on
safety,
first response
well,
time.
emergency response time and our first
And
response.
access, yeah.
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 And access and response time for our first responders.
Mhm.
Okay, are we in favor of that? Any yeses? Yes.
Yes.
Any no's to that? Any abstains? Great. So what's the next safety?
Sorry, on the bridge, I think we need to put the bullet point, you didn't ask for it, yes, the bridge to current condition, anticipated lifespan. So I think we should ask those questions
need-
in our letter.
We want some answers to that. I was gonna come back to that.
Which bridge are you talking about?
The main one that goes over the parkway.
Well, that'll be removed.
That's gonna be removed
Correct, but we would still like to know, just for general knowledge.
Okay.
I mean, what the condition is and everything.
until 2029.
So because we were in the safety, we sort of moved to the safety stuff. I was gonna come back to the bridge because I wanna sort of get our heads wrapped around all of the little they're not little, for me, they're very large. The safety concerns, and then we can come back.
Okay, so I know Green Tree Road is a state road. There were any concerns given the alternating lanes, turn on the warriors, signals? General concern about Green Tree Road safety.
I would also like to see that include, general safety of pedestrians and drivers on Green Tree Road. And a concern for the impact of the increased traffic, and traffic patterns on our parks, our businesses, our churches and schools. Does anyone have any more to
Concerned
add?
about the entrance to Green Tree Park,
Yeah, have parks
they
in
never paid any attention to that.
I'm concerned. So,
So-
can you read that back to us?
Sure.
She's still writing.
I have stuff, yeah.
She's really working hard.
Okay, so we as a borough have a general concern on the safety on Green Tree Road that affects the drivers and the pedestrians, as well as increased traffic. How that might affect people coming and going to the parks, churches, schools, specifically call out the entrance to Green Tree. And business.
And local
And
businesses.
local business.
Do we have yeses for that?
Yes.
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 Any no's? Any abstains? Thank you.
And then, so there's a lot of duplicates, which we already covered. Some of the things we need to know that Mr. Ray brought up, where are these accidents really happening? We did already cover the pop-up auto ramp. There's talk of traffic task force, which is going to come back. So I guess the data, in this letter, we're just supposed to be addressing concerns.
You can say
Are we
concerns
gonna
about data.
do a second note of, hey, we need more data on, we,
I would suggest that we need comprehensively more data, like we need data, this traffic analysis. I question the reliability of some of it. It only addresses the peak times, it doesn't address the entire day. You know, the very first one here, it says it doesn't even reduce traffic times in the morning inbound, which is kind of interesting. So. Although I think in the meeting, they said it was reduced by 3 minutes. But I-376 eastbound travel time remains the same due to the 4-foot tunnel constraint, so there's no change. So I would just like more comprehensive traffic analysis, including safety. Would really like to know where those accidents are taking place. Would like more data on anticipated traffic flow on Poplar.
I was gonna say maybe, and also what would it look like if that Poplar ramp is not included? How does that impact their anticipated traffic? Because they're trying to flush it.
They provided that data to us.
Yeah.
If it's not impacted, but it's only AM peak and PM peak.
Right.
We don't,
We know
they don't, what's AM peak? What's PM, what
that
time
6 to 8?
slot is?
I can actually speak to that.
Jesse, do you mind going to the?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Just around 7:00. The way those peak hours are defined is every 15 minutes, it's counting cars. Counting cars all day in 15-minute intervals. Whatever 4 consecutive 15-minute intervals has the most traffic, that is considered the peak hour. You're correct that it does not inform you at all about the total traffic volume throughout the course of the day. But again, it's very like technical traffic engineering jargon, but the peak hour, it could be 7:30 to 8:30. It could be 8:45 to 9:45. It's just one continuous chunk that has the most traffic each direction and. So I know that doesn't fully answer your question,
No,
but
it does.
if you
It actually makes me more concerned because if the data isn't like bimodal, right, where you have AM, PM peaks, you have this and a little bit of that.
yeah, total traffic volume is
That's a major
not
concern.
part of that calculation.
Yeah,
So maybe we want total traffic volume, but not just traffic.
in the no build and build conditions.
Correct.
Yeah.
We give this house a minute to write that up, and then if you can read it back, but.
And I think that data should also include the decibel levels. We're just talking data. This is the category data.
Well, then I think that's where we would put in questions about the bridge as well. I wanna know,
Because we have, it looks like we had addressed sound questions, specifically under the sound barrier,
and asking for a
sound and asking them for a sound study.
So maybe this is the data about the condition of the bridge, along the, like,
bridge is still somewhere in my mind, but if we were gonna all we added together, it was gonna suggest it, but.
So the borough has concern with the availability of traffic data that was already given to us and the accuracy. We are requesting a more comprehensive traffic and safety study. Where are these accidents happening? What is the traffic flow on Poplar? We would request total traffic volume in a build and no build scenario and not just during peak hours.
I would like to add to the reason why we're asking, for me, why I wanna know this additional information. Is because whatever those numbers are what impacts our community.
right.
It's not, I will be honest, I do not feel confident questioning the data that they've already given us. But I would like to know more data, to understand how it's gonna impact our.
so maybe don't say question their data, like additional data.
Additional data, but as the gentleman noted, if you do the math, they're saying it takes 43 minutes to get from the tunnel to I-79 westbound. That doesn't happen.
Go ahead and see.
Yeah, Alex Rudowski, 116 Susan Drive. They haven't given you any data for the major therapy, data that you were citing 10-15 minutes ago. That's all the data from the proposed new one rate.
Right.
You have no idea how much volume we think they're talking about here.
Right.
And that's where, right or wrong, you should be scared, because when you think about how big that number is gonna be when they finally tell you out, that's what,
I am very legitimately concerned.
can they haven't given you.
We need to ask for additional data. Could you read that back to us?
Sure. Borough has a concern and is requesting more comprehensive traffic data as it relates to traffic and safety, specifically where are accidents occurring? And what does the traffic flow on Poplar look like? We would request a total traffic volume study in a build and no build scenario.
I think for Green Tree Road as well,
For like.
yeah, for the whole thing,
Okay.
For the,
not just for Poplar, for all of it.
yeah, as it impacts our community.
For entire Green Tree.
For
as-
all
or
of
this area,
for the entire
project
for the
area.
projects.
So, all ramps,
Okay.
all ramps and roads affected by the
Yeah,
project.
off the- so like the entire, they're doing it every 15 minutes, which is super important.
Like I said, not peak time and well.
Yeah.
so be
Yeah.
that.
You
Yes.
going up?
Just down to 38 roads. I think we're kind of. The intended. Their intention is to dump traffic onto Mansfield. I mean, that's the whole thing, that they hope that they can siphon off enough of the traffic off of Green Tree Hill and pump it down Manila to, Mansfield, down to Carnegie. Like that's the intention. Here we're expressing concerns that it's gonna increase traffic on Manila, but that's expressly the intention. That and the upcoming Banksville realignment down at the bottom, they kind of hope that by pulling enough traffic off the top of the hill and then siphoning off some of the Banksville traffic at the bottom, they hope that that's what's gonna improve traffic flow some, some small amount. When we all know that, major issue is that the tunnel is only 2 lanes going in, but they're trying to do all these other little workarounds to increase flow. Well, if we take all the traffic off the Green Tree ramp, dump it on a Poplar, pump it down Mansfield, and on the other way, then we could just immediately send them straight down Mansfield. That's what's fun, flow. So if we don't do that, or we don't, you know, allow them to do that, then I can't imagine they're interested in doing this project, really. We probably won't get anything, honestly. But that's, you know, we're expressing our concerns about that, but I think that's the main intention of this project, so if we kind of put up too much resistance to that central fact, a lot where they'll be. And, regarding the accidents, most of the accidents are right on the overpass over Poplar, and then we did all the, geotechnical boards for this project already, and we were out there all night for a couple of months, and we just saw accidents every night right there on that overpass at Poplar. There's a lot of them. I don't know if the fire department, you know, filled you guys in on that, but I mean, we had accidents about that and every night out there, I think it's great. But yeah, that's it, that's what I had.
Thank you. We want to read that one more time.
Okay, the borough has a concern and is requesting additional comprehensive traffic and safety data for all Green Tree roads, ramps included in the scope of this project. We are requesting a total traffic volume and build and no build scenario, as well as we would like traffic data that involves peak and non-peak times.
If you were a yes, you can say yes. Or
Yes.
yes. Any no's? Abstained. Okay.
The one thing that was brought up, which I wasn't even aware of, so thank you very much for bringing this up, is that there are additional projects happening with Banksville and Carnegie. So we would have a concern as to the length of construction. We know our project, if it happens, is supposed to go live until 2025. But are there then other projects in the pipeline that we might not even be aware of yet that would bring on additional traffic and congestion?
Yeah, so I did look this up prior to the meeting, and then I just brought it up now. The Banksville Road project is starting in late 2026, and it is gonna end in 2029. And I mean, of course, that is their proposed timeline. We know that we live in Western PA. It doesn't always happen. But so I would be, in my head, that is something I would want answered when they come back for the final proposed, is when their proposed start time is. I was not, in my reading of this and preparing for this meeting ahead of time, I was under the impression that these projects were not going to be happening at the same time. So I don't believe they said this, but my interpretation was that they would not start this project until Banksville was complete, until the other, so that it was like this rolling process of things.
We could table that if I'm open.
I don't think it's just to ask for a summary of it.
You know, what
Other
other
projects.
projects, you know, the other two projects in the surrounding areas that may impact congestion in our area at the same time as this project.
Okay, so the council expresses concern of any other potential projects in the area during the proposed timeline of 376 project
And their impact
and their impact on the area.
Yeah,
And each other. You have 3 projects at the same time.
thank you for going to the.
Christopher gets me, construction as well, so if you have 3 projects going at the same time, they'll interfere with each other.
Yeah.
This one may take a year, this one may take a year, but the next each other are gonna take 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if we can phrase that to say like, council would like, the Green Tree Borough would like to know, planned projects and their timelines.
How about a better understanding
Yes.
of planned projects?
Yeah.
And their timelines, that are in our general region that might also impact Green Tree.
And this project.
Yeah, and this project, because, again, like I said, I believe that if there was, that Banksville was gonna be complete before this started, well, that might be their intention, but what, who knows what happens, so.
Filled with food.
And if
Right.
they get delayed, does that mean
That this will get delayed, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Ms. House is gonna write that up again and then we'll.
Council would like a better understanding of potential projects in the pipeline and what their timelines might be to understand what their impact on the region and our community.
And this project.
Oh, and this with regards to that.
this project.
To that 376 project.
Okay. Do we have yeses on that?
Yes.
Yes. Any no's? Any abstains? Great.
Okay, so I think that thing and correct me if I'm wrong, because everybody, a lot of very same things would be the bridge issues the mayor brought up.
Yeah, so the bridge were questions of, do you want to summarize that, Mr. Mayor?
Thank general for this is the current condition of the bridge and anticipated lifespan of the bridge, on the bridge.
The bridge on Bridge Road.
It's the overpass bridge.
Which they are replacing.
Right.
Right.
And
So when they were faced, we want to know.
no, we want to know what is currently there, what is its current condition, lifespan, since this is. Because we've got 4 more
Okay,
years
got
with
it,
this
right.
bridge, so we
Yes.
just want to make sure.
Right.
And it's gonna be used while the construction is going on,
Mm-hmm.
so we want to make sure that that's in good shape.
Because if it's not, then that would halt everything else. Yes, go ahead.
Speaking of bridges, Commissioner Beasley, the bridge they own, can they do a study on that to make sure it's okay, because there's no sense in building everything.
That's
what
what
we're
asking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's Green Tree Bridge, the Highland Bridge. Oh, Mansfield. The one going over Mansfield is currently out, 306.
Yeah, I know we're not about the original.
It's
Yeah.
the same one,
talk about
yeah.
all the bridges that they own.
Okay.
It goes over Poplar.
Yeah.
There's one that goes over
Yeah.
Green Tree, one that goes over Poplar.
Okay.
Okay, are we a yes for that?
Yeah.
Yes, any no's? Okay,
Okay, so that's,
Did we capture the one concern about, the couple of businesses or several businesses that be impacted by?
so we did in the road safety, increase traffic, parks, churches, schools, entrance to Green Tree Park and local businesses. Is,
Yeah, I think in particular, someone mentioned the ones,
Which ones would it be,
the ones past, the marathon,
yeah, just past the marathon,
like where the Kinkos?
past that.
before the marathon, but there's
so like
the
this
Julian
week,
Gray.
like Chipotle, like that.
No, like,
Towards-
the,
Julian
Don
Ross.
Domo,
Yeah.
Johnville Optical, oh, that office
That
building right
office
there, I got
complex,
you,
yeah,
yeah.
that's- I think, they're mentioned in both the safety aspect and in the eminent domain part. Anything else? Okay, so a letter will be written up that summarizes this, Ms. Miller will do that, and then can we give it to our engineers? And so they can take a look at it and make sure it all makes sense. And then, Ms. Miller, when was the date that PennDOT wanted this letter given to them?
They did not give me a date, but they said by June or July at the latest. Like, I would suggest no later than July.
Yeah, mid-July, right?
We could circulate the letter to.
Yeah, all of us will see the letter, including the mayor. And then it will get sent on our behalf.
I would ask the, residents, is there anything that we missed?
Concerning the letter,
Yes,
then after two things. After that letter is written, then I guess that will be available to the Greenfield residents to see what was said.
Yes, and it will also be sent to the planning commission. We'll send it to them before we, send it off.
At some point, it will be available.
It will be available to the Greenfield residents, yes.
Okay, I think that's important, the Greenfield residents to be able to see.
Yes, of course, we agree.
Okay, and then also, similarly, PennDOT has asked for, public comment on the, they gave us a form at that meeting back in March. So I guess the same thing would hold true for residents, that they should try and send their responses on a similar timeline to PennDOT as well. So that we should also be working on a June, the end of June or mid-July timeline on that as well, if they have not something.
You're able to do that for as long as they keep it up. I think it would not hurt if everyone did it now, right, instead of waiting, right? Because I do not know when they will take things down for comments, I don't have that information. So I would encourage everyone to take what you came here to say, if you have not already expressed it directly to PennDOT. But yes, and then when the letter is finalized and posted, it will also get posted for all of Green Tree. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. It was very appreciative. This is certainly a very large project that is going to have an impact on our community, and I appreciate everyone being here. I very much want to thank the planning commission, who very often has to do a lot of work with this type of project, and their work will really just be beginning as this project unfolds. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the volunteers who put their dedicated time to it. At 8:51, we're done.